Captain Alex Hartman had seen many strange things during his years of exploring the outer edges of the galaxy, but nothing prepared him for what he encountered that day. His spaceship, the starbound Voyager, was on a routine patrol mission near the unexplored asteroid belt known as the Void Expanse. The region was notorious for its dangerous gravitational anomalies and lack of navigational data. While scanning the desolate rocks for signs of life, a faint distress signal blinked on his console. "Commander, we have an unidentified distress beacon," reported Officer Jenna Hay, frowning in concentration. "It's coming from that large asteroid." Alex's curiosity grew. Distress signals in this part of space were rare, and it was his duty to investigate. "All right, Jenna, set a course toward the source. Let's see what we're dealing with." The starbound Voyager carefully maneuvered through the treacherous asteroid field, avoiding massive rocks that could easily pulverize the ship. As they got closer, the signal grew stronger. Finally, they arrived at the source, a battered escape pod lodged among the asteroids. "The rocky surface looks ancient," Jenna commented, studying the readings on her screen. "No markers or recent activity. It's a miracle it's even transmitting." "Let me take a closer look," Alex said, guiding the ship toward the pod with precision. The Voyager docked, and the airlock was activated. The exterior of the capsule was covered in cosmic dust, its metal corroded and worn from countless years drifting through space. Alex forced the hatch open, the old mechanisms groaning in protest. Inside, he found an unconscious and emaciated alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, almost translucent under the dim emergency lights. Her features were delicate, with high cheekbones and long, silver hair cascading around her like a shimmering veil. "Jenna, prepare the medical kit," Alex called over his shoulder, gently cradling the fragile girl in his arms. "We need to stabilize her quickly." Alex quickly carried her to the infirmary, where Dr. Morgan Anders, the ship's physician, was already preparing the necessary equipment. He quickly scanned her vital signs and shook his head. "She's in bad shape, Captain. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, and signs of prolonged exposure to zero gravity. We'll need to administer fluids and nutrients immediately." While Morgan and Jenna worked to save the alien girl, Alex couldn't help but wonder who she was and what had brought her to this desperate situation. Questions swirled in his mind, but he knew they would have to wait. Her survival was the immediate priority. Hours turned into a long, tense night as they monitored her progress. The gentle hum of the infirmary and the rhythmic beeping of monitors were the only sounds. Alex sat by her side, watching the rise and fall of her shallow breaths. He had seen suffering and loss before, but something about this girl stirred a deep sense of protection within him. By morning, there were signs of improvement. Her breathing had stabilized, and some color had returned to her cheeks. Jenna brought Alex a cup of coffee, her eyes filled with concern and curiosity. "Who do you think she is?" Jenna asked, taking a seat beside him. "I don't know," Alex admitted, taking a sip of the bitter brew. "But we'll find out. When she wakes up, maybe she can tell us what happened." Days passed, and the alien girl slowly regained her strength. The crew took turns watching over her and ensuring she had food, water, and medical care. They were patient, knowing her recovery would take time. One night, as Alex was making his rounds, he noticed her stirring. Her eyes opened, revealing a pair of deep violet irises that seemed to glow with an inner light. She looked around, her expression a mix of fear and confusion. "Hello," Alex said softly, stepping into her line of sight. "You're safe now. My name is Alex. What's yours?" She hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Lyra." "Lyra," Alex repeated with a smile. "It's nice to meet you. Can you tell us what happened?" Tears filled Lyra's eyes as she recounted her story. She was from a distant planet called Aurora, a peaceful world that had been devastated by war. Her family had been killed, and she had been taken captive by a ruthless faction known as the Syndicate. They had exploited her unique abilities to navigate and manipulate energy. One night, she managed to escape, stealing an old escape pod. She had been drifting through space, lost and starving, until Alex and his crew found her. "You saved my life," Lyra said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you. We're glad we could help," Alex replied. "You're welcome to stay with us as long as you need." As Lyra adjusted to life aboard the starbound Voyager, she began to recover, not just physically but emotionally as well. She shared stories of her home, her family, and the horrors she had endured. In return, Alex and his crew taught her about human technology and culture, easing her transition into their world. The questions that had once swirled in Alex's mind began to find answers, but new ones arose. The Syndicate was still out there, a looming threat that wouldn't rest until they reclaimed what they believed was theirs. Watching Lyra interact with the crew, Alex felt a mix of joy and apprehension. He had saved her life, but at what cost? The journey ahead was uncertain, and Alex knew they would need every ounce of courage and strength to face the challenges to come. For now, though, they had won a small victory. Lyra was safe, and together, they would navigate the stars, seeking not only survival but a new hope for the future. The days turned into weeks as Lyra adapted to life aboard the starbound Voyager. The once fragile and frightened alien girl began to flourish. Her strength returned with each passing day, and Alex and his crew found themselves captivated by her resilience and gentle spirit. She had a natural curiosity and a willingness to learn that endeared her to everyone. Lyra's knowledge of the galaxy proved invaluable. She had a unique understanding of stellar systems and navigation routes unknown to most humans. Her ability to manipulate energy was particularly fascinating. She could interact with the ship's systems in ways that seemed almost magical, enhancing its efficiency and performance. One afternoon, as the crew gathered in the common area for a meal, Lyra hesitated at the doorway, unsure if she should join them. Jenna noticed her lingering and waved warmly. "Come on, Lyra. Take a seat," she called out. "We don't bite." Smiling shyly, Lyra took a seat next to Alex. The table was filled with a variety of dishes, a mix of human and alien cuisine that reflected the crew's diverse backgrounds. "Try this," Jenna said, handing Lyra a plate of something that looked like a cross between a fruit and a vegetable. "It's called a kumquat, one of my favorites from Earth." Lyra took a bite, her eyes widening with delight. "It's delicious." The crew laughed, and the atmosphere became more relaxed. As they ate, they exchanged stories about their homes and adventures. Lyra listened intently, occasionally sharing her own experiences from Aurora. "I used to spend hours staring at the night sky," she said wistfully. "My parents would tell me stories about the stars and the beings who lived among them. I never imagined I'd one day be out here, among the stars." Alex watched her with a mixture of admiration and sadness. Her past was filled with pain, but she carried herself with a grace and hope that was inspiring. He felt a protective instinct toward her, a desire to ensure she never had to face such horrors again. As the night wore on, Alex and Lyra found themselves alone on the observation deck, gazing at the vast expanse of space. The stars glittered like diamonds against the black velvet of the universe. "Thank you," Lyra said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "for everything. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." Alex shook his head. "You don't need to repay us, Lyra. We're just glad we could help. Besides, you've already helped us more than you realize. Your knowledge and abilities have been a great asset to the ship." Lyra's eyes shone with gratitude. "Still, I want to do more. I want to be part of this crew, to help in any way I can." "You're already part of the crew," Alex said with a warm smile. "And we're lucky to have you." Lyra officially joined the crew the following day as a navigator and energy specialist. She quickly adapted to her new role, her unique abilities enhancing the Voyager's capabilities in ways they had never imagined. Her skill in sensing and manipulating energy allowed them to navigate through dangerous areas with ease and detect hidden resources that would have otherwise gone unnoticed. One morning, as the ship passed through a particularly dense asteroid field, Lyra's abilities proved crucial. The ship's sensors struggled to penetrate the thick layers of rock and metal, but Lyra closed her eyes and extended her senses, feeling the flow of energy around her. "There's a safe passage to starboard," she announced. "It curves around the larger asteroids and leads to an open area." Alex trusted her instincts and adjusted the course accordingly. As they navigated the narrow passage, the crew marveled at Lyra's precision. "That was incredible, Lyra," Jenna said, her voice filled with admiration. "I don't know how you do it." Lyra smiled modestly. "It's something I've always been able to do. I'm just glad I can use it to help." As Lyra continued to integrate with the crew, her bond with Alex grew stronger. They spent hours discussing their past dreams and fears. Alex shared stories of his family back on Earth, his decision to join the space fleet, and the adventures he'd experienced over the years. "You've seen so much," Lyra said one evening as they sat in the dimly lit dining area. "I can only imagine what it must be like to have so many memories." "Some of them are good," Alex replied, his eyes distant. "Some not so much. But it's the people I've met along the way that make it all worthwhile." Lyra nodded, understanding the sentiment. "I feel the same. Meeting you and your crew has given me a new sense of purpose. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I belong somewhere." Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden blaring of the ship's alarm. Jenna's voice came over the intercom, urgent and tense. "Captain, we've got incoming ships. It's the Syndicate." Alex's heart raced as he and Lyra hurried to the bridge. The view screen displayed a fleet of Syndicate warships closing in on their position. The sheer number of enemy ships was overwhelming. "Battle stations," Alex ordered, his voice firm despite the fear gnawing at him. "Lyra, stay with Jenna. She'll keep you safe." As the crew rushed to their positions, Alex took the helm, his mind focused on the impending battle. The Syndicate ships were powerful and relentless, but he was determined to protect Lyra and his crew at all costs. The battle that followed was fierce and chaotic. The starbound Voyager was outnumbered, but Alex and his crew fought with everything they had. From the safety of the bridge, Lyra watched, her eyes filled with determination. She couldn't let her new friends suffer because of her. "Captain, let me help," Lyra pleaded, stepping forward. "I can disrupt their systems." Alex hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." Taking a deep breath, Lyra focused her energy. Her hands glowed with a soft blue light as she reached out toward the Syndicate ships. Her mind connected with their systems, and with a burst of power, she sent a wave of electromagnetic interference that disrupted their controls. The Syndicate ships faltered, giving the Voyager a chance to strike. Alex and his crew seized the opportunity, launching a counterattack that disabled the enemy fleet. The Syndicate was forced to retreat, but Alex knew it was only a temporary victory. After the battle, the crew gathered in the dining area, battered but triumphant. Lyra sat quietly, her eyes downcast. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to bring this danger to you." Alex placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You have nothing to apologize for, Lyra. You're part of our crew now. We'll face whatever comes together." Lyra looked up, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Alex. I don't know what I would have done without all of you." As they shared a meal and laughter, a sense of hope filled the air. They had faced the Syndicate and survived. More importantly, they had forged a bond that would carry them through any challenge that lay ahead. Together, they charted a new course, determined to find a safe haven for Lyra and others like her who had suffered at the hands of the Syndicate. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but with friends by her side, Lyra felt a renewed sense of courage and purpose. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, she dared to dream of a brighter future. The weeks following their initial encounter with the Syndicate were tense. The crew of the starbound Voyager remained on high alert, knowing their temporary victory hadn't eliminated the threat. Lyra's presence aboard the ship made them a target, and the Syndicate's relentless pursuit cast a constant shadow over their lives. Despite the looming danger, life aboard the Voyager went on. The crew trained rigorously, improving their defenses and honing their combat skills. Lyra, now an integral part of the team, worked tirelessly to enhance their navigation and energy management systems. Her abilities had already proven invaluable, but she knew they would need every advantage to stay ahead of their enemies. One quiet afternoon, as the ship drifted through a calm stretch of space, Alex found Lyra on the observation deck. She was gazing at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "Can't sleep?" Alex asked, joining her at the window. Lyra shook her head. "I keep thinking about the Syndicate. They won't stop until they have me." Alex placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll protect you, Lyra. We'll find a way to stop them." Lyra turned to him, appreciating his words, but the worry in her eyes remained. "I just don't want anyone else to get hurt because of me." As if in response to her fears, the ship's alarm suddenly blared. "Captain," Jenna's voice came over the intercom, urgent and tense. "We got incoming ships. It's the Syndicate." Alex and Lyra rushed to the bridge. The view screen displayed a fleet of Syndicate warships closing in on their position. Their numbers were overwhelming. "Battle stations," Alex ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Lyra, stay with Jenna. She'll keep you safe." The crew scrambled to their positions, ready to defend the Voyager. The Syndicate opened fire, and the ship shook under the impact of their initial salvo. Alex and his team returned fire, but it was clear they were outmatched. From the safety of the bridge, Lyra watched the chaos unfold, her eyes filled with determination. She couldn't stand by and let her new family suffer for her sake. "Captain, let me help," she pleaded, stepping forward. "I can disrupt their systems." Alex hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Do it." Lyra closed her eyes, focusing her energy. Her hands glowed with a radiant blue light as she reached out toward the Syndicate ships. Her mind connected with their systems, and with a burst of power, she sent a wave of electromagnetic interference that scrambled their controls. The Syndicate ships faltered, their weapon systems failing. Alex seized the opportunity. "Fire!" he commanded. The Voyager launched a precise counterattack, disabling the enemy fleet. The Syndicate was forced to retreat, but Alex knew it was only a matter of time before they regrouped. After the battle, the crew gathered in the dining area, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra sat quietly, her head bowed. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to bring this danger to all of you." Alex placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to apologize, Lyra. You're part of our crew now. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Lyra looked up, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Alex. I don't know what I would have done without you all." As they shared a meal and some laughter, a sense of hope filled the air. They had faced the Syndicate and survived, but more importantly, they had forged a bond strong enough to endure whatever challenges lay ahead. In the days that followed, Alex called a meeting with his senior officers in the ship's briefing room. The recent battle had made it clear they needed a new strategy. Running and hiding were no longer viable options. "We need to find a way to take the Syndicate down once and for all," Alex said, addressing his team. "We can't keep playing defense. We need to go on the offensive." Jenna nodded in agreement, but voiced her concern. "But how, Captain? The Syndicate is a massive organization with resources far beyond ours. Attacking them head-on would be suicide." Lyra, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "There might be another way. The Syndicate relies on a network of communication relays to coordinate their fleets. If we could disrupt that network, they'd lose their ability to track us." Alex considered her suggestion. "It's risky, but it could work. Do you know where these relays are located?" "I know some of their locations," Lyra said. "It's not complete, but it's enough to get us started." "Then it's decided," Alex said with determination. "We'll target the heart of their communication network. If we can pull this off, it might give us the upper hand." Prepare the crew for the mission. The crew spent the next several days preparing for what would be the most critical mission of their lives. Every detail was meticulously planned, every contingency considered. Lyra worked closely with the crew, using her abilities to enhance their systems and ensure they had the best chance of success. The first relay station was located in a remote sector of space, heavily guarded by Syndicate forces. As the starbound Voyager approached, Alex gave the order to shut down the ship's primary systems, hoping to slip past the outer defenses undetected. Lyra, we'll need your help to disable their security systems, Alex said as they neared the station. I'll do my best, Lyra replied, her hands already glowing with energy. Using her abilities, Lyra disrupted the station's sensors, creating a window of opportunity for the Voyager to slip through. The ship docked at the station, and a small team led by Alex and Lyra boarded the facility. Inside, they encountered heavy resistance, but the crew fought bravely, using their intimate knowledge of the station's layout to their advantage. Lyra's energy manipulation proved invaluable, disabling security systems and diverting enemy forces. When they reached the central control room, Lyra focused her power on the relay's main computer. With a surge of energy, she overloaded the system, causing it to shut down. Relay station disabled, Lyra reported, her voice steady despite the exhaustion in her eyes. Great work, everyone, Alex said. Let's move on to the next target. The mission was far from over. They had several more relay stations to disable, each presenting its own set of challenges. But with every success, the crew grew more confident in their ability to fight back against the Syndicate. For Lyra, the journey was transformative. She had not only found a crew, but a family. And with each relay station they disabled, she felt one step closer to finally being free. The final relay station was the most fortified, located deep within Syndicate-controlled territory. It was the hub of their communication network, and disabling it would deal a significant blow to their operations. As the Voyager approached the station, the crew prepared for their toughest battle yet. Alex stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen. This is it, everyone. Let's give it everything we've got. The battle was fierce, but the crew fought with determination and skill. Lyra's abilities once again proved crucial, disrupting the station's defenses and giving the Voyager a fighting chance. In the end, they managed to disable the final relay station. The Syndicate's communication network was in ruins, and their ability to pursue the Voyager was severely compromised. As the Voyager emerged from the battle, battered but victorious, a sense of relief washed over the crew. They had done it. They had struck a blow against the Syndicate and secured a measure of safety for themselves. But most importantly, they had found hope. Together, they would continue to fight for a future free from fear and oppression. And with Lyra by their side, they knew they had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After their daring mission to disable the Syndicate's communication relays, the crew of the starbound Voyager was finally able to take a breath. The immediate threat had lessened, but they knew it was only a matter of time before the Syndicate regrouped and launched another attack. They needed a permanent solution to end the Syndicate's reign of terror once and for all. One evening, as the crew gathered in the dining area, the atmosphere was a mix of relief and determination. They had dealt a significant blow to their enemies, but the fight was far from over. Lyra sat quietly, her mind filled with thoughts of her home planet, Aurora, and the devastation the Syndicate had caused. Alex noticed her distant expression and sat down beside her. "A penny for your thoughts?" he asked, offering a reassuring smile. Lyra sighed, her eyes reflecting the weight of her memories. "I keep thinking about Aurora, my family, and all the others who suffered because of the Syndicate. I want to do more than just survive. I want to help others like me." Alex nodded, understanding her resolve. "And we will, Lyra. We've already done so much, but there's still a lot more to do. We need to find a way to dismantle the Syndicate's power structure completely." Jenna, who had been listening nearby, joined the conversation. "We have the upper hand right now. With their communications disrupted, the Syndicate is vulnerable. We need to strike at their core Dr. Morgan Anders, typically calm, chimed in with newfound determination. We've gathered a lot of intel from the relay stations. If we can locate their central command, we might be able to deliver a final blow. Lyra's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. There is a place, she said slowly, a hidden base in a remote part of the galaxy. It's heavily fortified, but if we can get inside, we could take down their leadership. Alex's heart raced at the prospect. Do you know where it is? Lyra nodded. I have the coordinates. It's risky, but it's our best chance. With a plan forming, the crew sprang into action. They spent the next few days preparing for the most critical mission of their lives. Every detail was meticulously planned, and every contingency considered. Lyra worked closely with the crew, using her abilities to enhance their systems and ensure they had the best chance of success. As the starbound Voyager set course for the Syndicate's hidden base, the crew was ready for whatever lay ahead. The journey was tense, every moment filled with anticipation and fear. When they arrived, the scale of the challenge became clear. The base was a massive fortress, surrounded by an armada of Syndicate warships. The odds were overwhelming, but the crew refused to back down. All hands, prepare for battle, Alex ordered, his voice steady. Let's give it everything we've got. The Voyager dove into the fray, dodging enemy fire and striking back with precision. Lyra's energy manipulation disrupted the Syndicate's defenses, creating openings for the crew to exploit. The battle was intense, but the crew fought with unmatched determination. As the battle raged, Alex led a small team, including Lyra, on a daring assault to infiltrate the Syndicate's fortress. They navigated the labyrinthine corridors, fighting off soldiers and using Lyra's intimate knowledge of the base to avoid traps and ambushes. Lyra's abilities proved invaluable, disabling security systems and guiding the team toward the command center. When they finally reached it, they faced the Syndicate's leader, a ruthless figure known only as General Kale. The confrontation was intense. General Kale was a formidable opponent, but the crew's resolve was unshakable. Lyra, fueled by her determination to end the Syndicate's reign, used her powers to breach Kale's defenses, allowing Alex to subdue him. With the command center secured, they transmitted a signal to the Syndicate fleet, ordering them to stand down. The once mighty forces of the Syndicate began to retreat, their power shattered. Back aboard the starbound Voyager, the crew celebrated their hard-earned victory. The Syndicate's grip on the galaxy had been broken, and the galaxy was finally free from their oppression. Lyra stood on the observation deck, gazing at the stars with a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. Alex joined her, his expression filled with pride and relief. "We did it, Lyra," he said. "The Syndicate is finished." Lyra turned to him, a smile spreading across her face. "Thank you, Alex, for everything. I couldn't have done this without you and the crew." "We're a team," Alex replied warmly, "and we're just getting started. There's a whole galaxy out there to rebuild." As they stared out into the infinite expanse of space, a sense of hope filled the air. The journey had been long and arduous, but they had emerged victorious. Together, they would forge a new path, a future where peace and freedom could flourish. Lyra knew her home planet, Aurora, would need to be rebuilt, and there were countless others like her who needed help. With the crew of the starbound Voyager by her side, she felt ready to face any challenge that lay ahead. The galaxy was vast and filled with unknown dangers, but with her friends at her side, Lyra felt a renewed sense of courage and purpose. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, she dared to dream of a brighter future. And with the human who had saved her leading the way, she knew that anything was possible.